LBR LBO Brand Summit 2017.
So I think the three speakers here have shared their thoughts, very interesting, engaging thoughts. Please send your questions and I'll try to accommodate them. We've got 3 questions here, but to get the ball rolling, I just want to put it to the panel here. They called it the greatest lie of Silicon Valley. That was a quote by the editor of Ad Age, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, when they said TV advertising is going to die. They also said that of print, but mainly of TV. So from the presentations we see, we constantly keep hearing that TV is still king. So before we go into the details of multi-screen, could you just share with the audience and tell us why is TV still king?
So the reason why we say TV is still king is, I think the numbers speak for itself. If you just look at the penetration of internet, especially in our region, it's still it is high by a lot of standards in terms of absolute numbers, but not really that high that you can actually achieve 100% reach.
All right. Would you like to add to that, Farhan?
I think for this part of the world, TV will continue to dominate just because, as you know, Irene generally rightly said, the reach numbers are phenomenal. So from a marketing angle, it will always be a very important medium. But you have to understand that the captive audience that TV used to have, that's not the same anymore. So TV would be, if you were watching TV, you would be not doing anything other than maybe getting a glass of water or something to eat. But now, even when you're watching any TV program and for a couple of minutes there is maybe a plot or a scene which is slow, you will get onto your cell phone and you'll try and figure out check your WhatsApp, check your messages, emails, and all that. So TV is not dead, but I think the other thing that will also happen is every medium will find its own place in the universe. I don't think anybody will just die or anything will go away. TV will be used for a different reason. Cell phones will be used for different reasons. And cinema will also be used, but for a different set of reasons. Because we are still very entertainment-starved and we want entertainment. And we will use it different ways to be entertained.
Okay. See, we're having this chat during lunch that Sri Lanka as a country has heavily invested in digital infrastructure. In fact, our digital infrastructure has been ahead of some of the other countries in the region. We got 3G before India or Indonesia. We got 4G when India got 3G. But we're still way, way behind in digital. What do you think the challenges Sri Lanka is facing, and why isn't it kicking off? Is it that marketers and agencies still don't get it, or are we in a comfort zone? Come on.
Yeah, I think it's more to do with the comfort zone. You guys need to come out and try stuff. I mean, we had 4G after you guys had, and we are still sitting with a lot of people developing content for 4G. Reliance has itself gone into 4G with sending out dongles and giving out free content and all of that. So it's that little bit of experimentation which I really see a miss in this market. And I feel if that is kind of moved out, this market can do wonders.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have a counter question to you. Why is it that Sri Lankans or any consumer loves Facebook?
Why?
Why do they love Facebook?
I think like the way any other country loves Facebook.
Which is?
Indonesia, Vietnam, you were talking about.
Yeah. So there is a certain element, and when we work with Facebook, we keep reminding them there's a certain element of networking and sharing.
Yeah.
There is vicariousness. In some markets, it's used for vendetta. But there's also a huge entertainment factor. And that comes in with having content which is relevant, or the opportunity to create and generate content or share content that's relevant.
Yeah.
there are people who are interested in knowing that you ate Hakka noodles for lunch. And when you share that, there's a certain amount of excitement that you feel, and you look at the number of likes.
Right.
So I think it's, while yes, the government is investing a lot in infrastructure, there are brands investing in it, there's a certain element of relevance that needs to be probably dialed up, and that will take Sri Lanka to the next level. That's my personal opinion.
Okay. Sabri, do you have a point of view on this?
I mean, just to go back to the first question, why TV? I believe TV is still the king, but if you take TV ownership in the country, over 90% of TV ownership is there, and largely it's single TV ownership. So here is where the small screens or mobile devices come in, where if you take a household, if the mother or father is watching his or her favorite content, what would the others in the household do? They resort to the small screens, and this is proven by research. The recent LMRB research, the iCube, it says 80% of Sri Lankans who have access to internet access it via the mobile device. So yes, unless the media, TV channels step up. I mean, again, it is a question of traditional media is not dying, but at least for now. But the consumption patterns are fast changing.
Alan, it's about the first question. Right?
Yeah.
Is why is TV? I think it's because of the experience. It's a different experience. When TV was introduced, people said cinema is dead. But cinema is not dead anymore because the industry keeps innovating. For example, look at the sound systems. Cinema is on 10:1 stereo sound.
Right.
Right, you haven't still got it on TV. Then there is the 5D experience, which you may not be able to duplicate at home. Right? It's also the social experience because, the experience of, if you take the cinema, for example, the experience of going with your friends, going with the family, dressing up well, it's the product. The experience is the product. TV is also, you're watching it with the family sometimes, it's like that. But no, I also must answer Lakshman when he introduced me as someone from traditional media.
Right.
We are no longer traditional media. If we think we are traditional media, we'll be dead. I just want to tell you that we've also done some studies to see, who's watching our teledramas. We're talking about multi-screen, so who's watching our teledramas? I got some information here. In the early morning, people are watching through tablets and mobile phones, right? During the day, it's the desktop, so you better keep some CCTV cameras on your staff because they are watching teledramas on desktop. And from 5 to 7, it's again the mobile screen, right? And so TV dramas, it's, apart from the TVs, 65% of people watch it on mobile screens, 30% is on desktop and tablets, and 5% on smart TVs. Right? And we've also done some responsive designs to make sure that they are those multi-screens friendly, right? And also we've so many websites, TV, Derana FM, Derana, other Derana English, Sinhala, Tamil, pulse.lk, cinema.lk, so all these are formatted into responsive designs. And if you Google, we are the most subscribed Sri Lankan media station on YouTube with over 180,000 subscribers. I'm not doing a marketing job here, but I'm just telling you that we are not traditional media. According to Google Analytics, we have approximately 50,000 unique users a day for our TV Derana website, right? And if you Google the most popular YouTube channel in Sri Lanka, number 1 is Mia. Mia is a rap singer who's a Sri Lankan, who's in the US, number 2 is TV there. So you can check that. It's called some social bakers or something. Yeah, right. TV there is number 2. We are also about to launch Glue, which is a OTT platform. Right, so it's on video on demand, and there are so many devices, Apple TV, then Roku, about Roku. So with all that, it's a subscriber-based thing. We're about to launch that. It will be a competition for not Netflix worldwide, but most Sri Lankans who are, who have demand for Sinhala content. Sri Lankans who are living outside Sri Lanka also can access that through subscribing to it. To be about $5-6 per subscriber per month. So we are not traditional media in that sense. Right. So we are also into it. We know if we don't adapt to the multi-screen environment, we won't be dead, but we'll be like half dead. Okay.
I'll come back to discuss more about that. But there's a question for Irene from the audience. It says, do you recommend that brands choose activist topics for their brand stories? I'm making an assumption here. I think the question is more about, topical sort of stuff that gets engagement and traction on social media. That might be the question.
Might sound like a very simple answer, but there is no other answer to it other than the fact that if the brand is ready for it, then yes. If your brand is poised and it's a natural progression or a natural thing to take up, yes. I know of brands, for example, Lux is a very popular brand that very clearly steers clear of activism and says, we will not even, and I think there was a question in the last session also saying, why do we keep talking about pain points and problems? We don't. That's a brand that talks about aspirations. And so there is no cookie cutter for it. If it suits your brand, if it blends in with the DNA of your brand, then activism, and if it is something that's really a burning issue in your culture, then you should take it up if you are gutsy enough to do it.
I've got a question to ask Farhan. Do you ever think that 5 years down the line, all these multi-screens that we have now will converge into one screen, or do you think it will just continue to explode the way it's exploding right now?
I think it's highly unlikely that that will happen because, as I said earlier as well, we consume entertainment in using different medium for different reasons. Yes, cell phone and mobile penetration will continue to grow. People consuming content, bite-sized content will continue to grow. But there are events and activities you still want to use a TV or a cinema for, right? So if you want to watch a cricket match, chances are you would, if you didn't have a choice, then you'd watch it on your cell phone, but really you'd want to watch it with your friends on a screen. If you want to watch a 3D IMAX kind of a movie, you could probably wear glasses and watch it on your cell phone, but you'd want to be in an environment which is cinema. So for the reason for consuming a specific piece of content or specific medium will keep evolving. The only reason television continued to be king is because that was the only screen we were exposed to. Now there are multiple screens, and those multiple screens are here to stay. They will serve a different purpose, each of them, but they'll still be here.
So, this is a question for Kamal. Kamal, when in the era of traditional advertising, many of us are brought up on the single idea and synergy across medias and consistency and look and feel and all of that. But with new media coming in a big way, with so many options for consumers to engage on, clients and agencies alike have turned to different companies at different times to get their brand message across. I think all of you showed some great examples where consistency did exist, but in most cases this is not. If you go online and look at the stuff that is happening on big brands, there is disjointed look and feel, and the ideas don't synergize at all. Why do you think this happens? Is there like panic, and is there people not understanding how this needs to be done?
So I would say it's basically a client approach. I mean, initially clients used to think, okay, I have a separate digital agency and I have a separate mainline agency. But slowly that whole thought process is kind of getting into the dark. Like nowadays, clients, like when they plan out their budgets, they plan out a complete budget. And in that, mainline plus digital is a part of it. So that mindset is changing. Yes, I mean, you've seen it because you've seen stuff happening for the last 1-2 years or whatever. But I think this year onwards, I'm seeing that trend changing with clients.
Right.
So they're thinking more in a holistic manner of how to approach that single idea and how to collaborate across agencies to bring that idea to the consumer.
Right. Yeah, brands like Nokia and I think Unilever to some extent
Yes.
tried working in a collaborative way, but that too didn't produce the kind of results it
is difficult because again, see, you have like different people, different agencies working together.
Yeah.
So it's like, my say versus yours. So that kind of a fight we also go through.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if you have a client who can understand, and he can really direct agencies to work on a single goal, I'm sure you'll see synergies flowing across all output.
Right. Irene, is there anything you want to add on that? Okay. Yeah, Lakshari.
Just to put my 2 cents worth as an
Yeah.
marketer, I think that fundamentals of that, the silver thread being there throughout
Yeah.
has to be there.
Yeah.
But now you have, people creating content, web-based content,
Yeah.
right? And
User-generated content.
even dramas are created only for the web.
Oh,
It's
okay.
quite popular in India, right? So there are different creators.
Yeah.
So as he said, putting all these people together and I think it's up to the brand custodians to sort of make sure that the silver thread is there
Is
throughout
maintained.
the
Right.
thing.
I tell you, we have a difficult time with Pepsi. Pepsi is one of our clients. And whenever we go to meet up with them, there are 10 agencies sitting together. And imagine the amount of chaos we go through. But yes, at least what the final output comes out, it's pretty good in
Right.
terms of,
And you say it eventually works out.
Yes. Eventually it has to work out because the client who's kind of directing. So like he said, a custodian needs to drive it. There has to be a driver.
Right.
Otherwise, if one agency is doing, its own stuff and the other agency is doing something else,
Yeah.
you'll not find that synergy across.
Right.
Yeah.
So just before, you want to add something,
See,
Sabri? Yeah, go ahead.
at least from a Sri Lankan context, Thailand, yes, we develop campaigns largely which are TV-led. But there have been many success stories, at least from a Sri Lankan context, which has which involved a synergistic approach, or digital or mobile was used to complement the entire campaign. And one was the Sunlight Vesak campaign that we did, and the other is the Umbalakala campaign we did. Two of the campaigns that we, Group M did, which I could quote.
Right. I want to ask the three of you.
Dalan, just one more
Yeah.
thing on that. The other thing is the feedback. I know for one thing is every day I go, because we upload our television dramas as soon as the drama is over on television.
Yeah.
We upload it, and next morning I go and see it on my desktop.
Yeah.
Because I want to look at the comments, because the feedback is immediate. And you can see how much people are into it. You can see they are bashing the villain, right? And things like that, you can get the feedback. So
Just to take your thing further, so even we do that, we sometimes release songs, etc. on our page and the app. And the next way to kind of take that further is we call the artist down to our office and we do a Facebook Live with the artist. So with Facebook Live, there's a lot of interaction which happens. There is like a two-way communication happening live. And that's what people really need today. I mean, it's okay, gone are the days when they just see the video, but they now want to interact with the star, talk to the star.
Right.
So I think that's where multi-screen really helps.
Yeah.
And this kind of an approach also makes a lot of sense in terms of a consumer mindset.
Right. Is consumer behavior shaped by the devices that are available or by the content that is being generated heavily? Is it the content that is drawing them into watching these things, or is it that the devices, the new devices that keep coming to them? What is it?
I think it starts with the device,
Yeah,
and then the kind of content you serve, you lead them.
right.
So it's a mix, not
Farhan?
just one.
I think device is an enabler. Eventually, if you didn't have content to support the device, then the device would be a meaningless proposition.
Right.
So yes, the device is a strong enabler for people to kind of get together on a common platform, but the content on it basically drives the traffic and the reason for somebody to keep using it time after time.
Irene, it's
Well, as we always say, material culture tends to change faster than non-material culture. But the fact remains that in the digital world, it's a little different. You might buy an iPad, but you don't buy an iPad because you want to watch Hotstar television series and because my son is watching something else.
Yeah.
You buy the device, and then a lot of things just fall in place. You know, it's like a good marriage. So yeah, I think content, if I was to choose one, I would say content drives a lot of it.
right. So just before Laksiri broke into a little ad campaign for Dharana, I was going to credit the traditional media guys for really taking the fight to the digital camp for the kind of work that they've been doing in the last 5 years, the promotions, the activities that surround it. And I credit all the TV stations and the radio stations. Whereas in other markets, people, media channels sort of adapted. Here the fight was quite overt and it was taken back. The adoption that you're talking is probably more recent. Sabri, what do you have to say about that? Would you sort of agree to that?
Yes, yes, Tal. Partly I tend to agree with your comment, but if you look at this phenomenon, it is largely with a few set of operators. If you look at TV per se, it is with the first or the top 3 or 4 channels, whereas others are not following suit. Here is where the small screens come in. Just to shed a different light, once the term GRPs was once linked to TV. Now you can deliver more effective GRPs on digital channels too.
Lakshmi, there's a question for you. I know you want to say something, but you could also answer this at the same time. There's a question from the audience that says, do people watch commercials on TV, or do they just switch the channel or to mobile?
Well, I still feel that people still watch, commercials on TV. If I tell that people are not watching, I'll go out of business immediately. Right? But no, it's like this, maybe the more urban, more savvy audience is a little different to the mass audience. Yeah. There are still people enjoying watching TV commercials on TV, right? But there are people complaining as well. Of course, there are things like, the IPTVs, the Pure TV and things like that. You can switch. You don't have to switch channels. You can sort of time shift the commercials, right? So there are things like that. The other thing is, to answer your earlier question, we are in business, and it's how you make money. You can monetize. If you can monetize, you monetize everything, right? So we do monetize on the digital platform as well, and we have a substantial revenue from our YouTube channels as well. Apart from the other things like even our SMS-based platforms, we have the largest subscriber base for the news alerts, and then we have also star sign alerts. You might be surprised how much we make from that.
I'm sure.
Right? So yeah, we are adapting. Also, we are also battling it out. We want to make the big screen the winner, like the cinema, right. So we want to make the big screen the winner because I have a personal passion towards the big screen. And I prefer, even if the cinema wins over television, that's even better. So, it's ongoing battle, but we are also monetizing. I also must add that we also have, we have fully integrated. We also have a new thing called Idea Hell, which is a 20,000 square foot studio for any content creators. They can come free of charge. They can register themselves and create content for the YouTube. We provide cameras and the back end, the editing and everything, and we share the revenue. So even if you want to create digital content, we are there. But of course, you can't bypass agencies and places like that, because then they won't give us business, they'll shoot us. But yes, through them. Because the thing is, it depends on the target, the audience. You cannot spend that kind of money to create digital content. So you can spend for say 5-6 million on creating a television ad, but for a web-only ad, you can't spend that kind of money. So you have to be, cheaper than that. Yeah. So you have to have space to create it. Yep. We have also provided that space.
There's another question from the audience, and I'll ask Kamal to take this one. What are your views on brands doing dark marketing on digital media, where brand image is downplayed to highlight the authenticity of the content? Why I picked this question is that there is a belief that online, the more subtle you are, the more traction that you would get, rather than being very, very overt with your brands, because millennials do switch off when they see branded content coming on. What are your thoughts on this?
So yeah, this kind of, this kind of stuff was working some time back, where brands used to spam their fans with like 4 or 5 posts in a day and all that. But all that is coming to a standstill. It's more of create quality content and spend monies behind it. Also because Facebook, the organic reach which you get through Facebook is hardly anything right now. So it's more important for a brand is to invest money in right pieces of content and spend monies behind promoting it. So that's where I think the trend is moving towards. So I'm hoping I've answered that question.
Farhan?
Well, from a content angle, companies are trying all different types of things, right? So, adding filters to make it darker, to make the branding subtle. The idea is, unless that branding is not relevant to that specific piece of content, really, people may or may not end up remembering it, just because, however bold you want to be, I think you'll either piss consumers off because they don't want to see a lot of bold integration. Right. At the same time, you need to make sure that you create content which is in line with the brand equity, in line with the brand value, so that it resonates. Otherwise, there's really no point.
Right. So just to wrap up this session, can we just have a very short final thought from each one of you? Irene?
If I could just add to that point.
Please do.
There are lots of categories which are threatened to go dark now, including infant milk formula categories, if I look at APAC as a market. In that case, this is a very pertinent question, because from my experience, what we have seen is if you have brilliant consumer-generated stories, dark marketing works like a song. Yeah. Because you're not overtly pushing the brand. Okay. So my 2 bits at the end, I guess, there have been lots of questions on television and millennials, and whether it's just the rural population that we're looking at. Not really. We've looked at 16 to 65-year-olds across Sri Lanka. So there is no skew in terms of the data that I've presented. So whether it is millennials or whether it is elderly people, I guess we all love stories, and that's why folk tales and fairy tales are still popular. It may not be a ready formula saying television, is going to die, or other media or other screens are going to catch up. At the end of the day, if there's a good story that you tell and you say it in a way through a device that's engaging, it will work.
I just want to quickly talk about why the consumer side of digital has grown, but not the marketing side of business. In my mind, I think it's a function of 2 things. One is fear, and the other is over-expectation. So fear, when I talk about fear, when you talk about traditional stuff that you've done in the past, you're kind of convinced that that's worked, so it'll continue to work. And therefore, you're worried about changing something that will affect overall business. And that's a fair one. But the second fear is actually a much more scary one for me, because I think for most people that I now talk to in the marketing side, they've forgotten their real consumer. Their real consumer has actually become their boss. So they will put a huge outdoor campaign on the route where their boss lives. They will put television advertising places where their boss will watch television. And they won't use digital just because their boss is not going to see it, right? And and he's going to wonder, or she's going to wonder, come out, you spend 10% of my budget, I don't see anything. So was it a failed campaign or not? So that's the big fear that we have. And the expectation part I just want to quickly address as well, is when somebody thinks about digital, they want to think about an innovation that we want to do. Why doesn't everybody think about innovation when they do television? Because it's another medium. So we need to stop thinking about digital as an innovation medium and not be scared that by doing the right thing we may end up losing our jobs. Because really, at the end of the day, the numbers are there to defend the facts. Consumers are watching it. This is the new normal. And the sooner we accept it, the better it is. Sooner we start experimenting it, the better it is. Otherwise, somebody else is going to come and do it for us.
I like that. So my bit is for the marketer. I had read a question which said that is digital marketing really expensive? Not at all. In fact, not experimenting would turn out to be expensive for you all in the long run. So go out, just try stuff on digital, and you will see the results because the numbers are there. All we need to do is just take that first step. Thank you.
If I can just comment on that before Sabri gets to say his last thought, is that many marketers and advertising people look at digital media as a cost-effective medium through that lens and not from a medium of opportunity. It's all about, there's a cheaper alternative to reach consumers. Is this right thinking, or do you think they should look at the entire opportunity?
Yes, it's totally the entire opportunity. It's the idea that you all should look at. And if the idea has or can connect digitally in some format, go ahead and do it. I mean, don't wait for it to be be done by a competition or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's...
Sabri.
Okay. In terms of the marketers need to explore beyond traditional mediums, and if you look at screen stacking, is not only a phenomenon within the millennials, it is within the old age groups as well, this is a bit from TNS research, and also in terms of exploring the other screens, because we would like to consume content at our convenience. I mean, like you rightly said, prime time for me is not the prime time for you. So I would like to consume content at my convenience.
Right.
So what I must say is that whatever the screen is, content is king. Whether it's a story or whether it's advertising content. It's the quality of that. And I would have loved to have been on the other side of the table during the digital age, because although the attention span of this generation is smaller, they all like a good story. So Leela Mani says she must be knowing, good old days, I used to be one of the only clients who loved a 1 minute commercial, right? So now you can have a 1.5 or 2 minutes if it's a quality content. Right, so that's the opportunity that digital medium will give you. So content is king, that's my parting word.
I think a lot of agencies must be missing you on the marketing side. Okay, thank you very much. And that wraps up our session. I just want to thank the panel very much for their valuable input to this session. You did well. Thank you so much.